Why fantasy football? Why? We just want to have fun with this silly game we play, and instead you just want to bring us pain every week. And it started off right off the bat with Kyle Pitts, who let me check here. Kyle Pitts, dropped in 6% of the leagues, and started in less than 70% of the leagues, going out there and having 7 catches for 88 yards, because why not? Right when we all give up on you, Kyle Pitts, go have a good game. And you know what's going to happen this week? Everybody's going to be back in on you. They're going to start you again, and you're going to get that big fat 0, aren't you? And speaking of the Falcons, I thought getting rid of Arthur Smith was a good thing. What is going on with Bijan Robinson? I mean, sure, he averaged over 5 yards per carry, averaged over 5 yards per reception, but where are the big games? Where's the 100 yards? Where are the touchdowns? We need more from you, Bijan Robinson. You have a great matchup this week against the Carolina Panthers. Please don't disappoint us again. This is a smash spot. Please go out there and smash in week 6. I am begging you. And you know who else I'm begging? That's you, Breece Hall. Where have you gone? Has anybody seen Breece Hall? 19 carries for 27 yards over the last 2 games. Meanwhile, your running mate, the rookie Braylon Allen, has 47 yards on 6 less carries. You're supposed to be one of the best running backs in the NFL, one of the most complete running backs in the NFL. You're supposed to be the guy that we took in the first round, and we knew we were getting a stud running back. Where have you gone, Breece Hall? You also get a great matchup in week 6 against the Buffalo Bills, who do not have a good run defense. I implore you, Breece Hall, don't do this to us again. Please go out there and do something. But you know what? They weren't the only terrible running backs in week 5. Oh no, we had plenty of them. And you may look at Travis Etienne's stat line and say, hey, he wasn't too bad. 12 fantasy points, I'll take that. But did you notice Tank Bigsby outcarried him 13-6 and had over 100 rushing yards? This is not what you want to see if you have Travis Etienne. Travis Etienne needs to be a workhorse running back to pay off where you drafted him. If he's going to lose touches to Tank Bigsby, which at this point, why wouldn't he? Because this is 3 games now where Tank Bigsby has been better than Travis Etienne on the ground. If he's going to lose these touches, what really is his value here? This guy was picked in round 2, round 3, and he might not even be as good as his backup right now. I don't know what to do with Travis Etienne. He's one of these guys you don't really want to bench, but you don't really want to start him either. Maybe try to trade him if you can, but good luck. I doubt anybody is trying to get Travis Etienne right now. And in a game where the 49ers lost their kicker and were in control the entire game, instead of just running the ball with the guy in Jordan Mason, who's been one of the best running backs in the NFL this year, they decided to keep airing it out. This guy only gets 14 carries. And you know what? To add insult to injury, when they finally got near the goal line and it was like, maybe he can get a touchdown and save his day, he fumbles, of course. And then to add more insult to injury, the 49ers choked the game away. It's frustrating for fantasy, and I'm sure it was even more frustrating for 49ers fans. But look, Jordan Mason has been mostly great this year. One of those weeks, I certainly think he's going to be better. Don't do anything crazy next week and bench him or rage drop him. He'll be fine. And the Dolphins offense, I guess, looked mediocre, which is an upgrade. But unfortunately, Devon Achane did not get any of that mediocrity because he left early with a concussion. But the good news here is the Dolphins are on a bye next week, so hopefully he will be back good to go in week 7. And look, if they can at least be serviceable like they were today, Raheem Mostert did some things, Jalen Wright looked okay, maybe there's still hope for Achane. And maybe there's even a little hope for Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, but thankfully, you don't have to make that decision next week because they are on byes. Thank you. But you may have to make a decision on Deontay Johnson, who had a horrible game in week 5. I mean, Andy Dalton was also horrible going up against his stout Bears defense. We knew it was a tough matchup. I knew it was a tough matchup, but I thought, you know what? He's getting so many targets. Dalton's playing so well. He'll be fine. Don't worry about it. No, he was not fine, obviously. But look, next week it's the Falcons. That shouldn't scare you. We just saw Mike Evans torch the Falcons last week. Chris Godwin was fine against the Falcons last week. He'll bounce back again. Don't do anything crazy here. Deontay Johnson will be fine. But what about Marvin Harrison Jr.? On a day where Kyler Murray attempted 30 passes, he got 2 catches. 2. That's it. 2 catches. Now, I will say he did at least get 7 targets, so I guess the opportunity was there. But, I mean, again, we got to think better days are ahead for Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm not rage dropping Marvin Harrison. Plus, we got to remember he's a rookie. There's going to be ups and downs here again. And no panic on Marvin Harrison. It's going to be fine going forward. But what about Deebo Samuel and his three 3 whopping fantasy points, 1 catch on 3 targets. Look, I know Brandon Ayuk finally went off, but that doesn't mean Deebo has to be invisible here. Like, can we get Deebo Samuel the ball a little bit? What are we doing over there, Kyle Shanahan? Get Jordan Mason and Deebo the ball. But look, this is kind of who Deebo is, right? There's weeks where he's going to boom, and you're going to be like, yes, so glad I started him. And then there's going to be weeks like this where you're like, I wish I had him. But you can't really bench Deebo because you might miss out on those boom games. So you're just going to have to keep rolling with him and hope it gets better. And don't do anything crazy with a guy like DK Metcalf either. I mean, sure, after 3 really good games in a row, a letdown game this week, only 55 yards receiving, and plus, to add salt to the wound, he said, here's a fumble too to really kill your fantasy team. But look, DK Metcalf has been mostly great. This is a weird game where the Giants somehow look better than the Seahawks. Like, what is going on here? What world is this where the Giants are looking better than the Seahawks? But DK Metcalf is going to bounce back. He's going to be much better. He's still a must start. Yes, he's still a must start. Don't start thinking like, oh, maybe I need to bench him. He can win you weeks by himself, and he's going to do it many times this year. Don't do anything crazy like benching DK Metcalf. And then we get to the biggest trap of the week, Dontravian Wicks. Yes, the guy you have to start Dontravian Wicks. Do you see what's going on in Green Bay? Christian Watson is hurt. Romeo Doubs doesn't want to play. It's the Rams. How do you bench Dontravian Wicks? Well, hopefully you did bench Dontravian Wicks. 2 catches for 20 yards in this game. My biggest regret for week 5, without a doubt, was any time I said no to Brian Thomas Jr. and yes to Dontravian Wicks. I was higher on Brian Thomas Jr. until the whole Doubs fiasco, and then I was like, well, it's just him and Jaden Reed, I guess. No, it's not just him and Jaden Reed, I guess, because there's Tucker Kraft, Bo Melton. Who else was catching passes? Not Dontravian Wicks, I'll tell you that. It wasn't him. Look, we got questions from people. Should I start Wicks or really good wide receivers? I really hope you did not bench a really good wide receiver for Dontravian Wicks this week, and I really hope you don't do it again next week after what we saw in week 5. And it wasn't just running backs and wide receivers that sucked in week 5. No, Sam Darnold, hey, welcome back to earth. Sam Darnold crashed down hard in this tough matchup overseas against the Jets, but I mean, look, were you really expecting Sam Darnold to be a top 5 QB all year? Like, okay, you rode that wave. It was great. You could probably still start him in good matchups, but it's still Sam Darnold here. And, this is another week where elite fantasy QBs were not very elite. Specifically, Josh Allen. Now, look, I know he left this game temporarily with a concussion, and he probably came back in this game with a concussion, which, like, what are we doing here, NFL? How is this guy allowed to go back in? But this is 3 games now where he has less than 15 fantasy points this year. This is not what you drafted when you took this guy in maybe round 2 of your league, round 3 of your league? No, you need more than this. And now there's real worry that maybe they're going to be like, oh yeah, he does have a concussion and he's not playing next week. So look, you got Josh Allen, you drafted him, you probably got to keep rolling with him, but it's not feeling very good right now. And the same can be said for CJ Stroud. It looked like he was going to have a big game when he hit Nico on that 67-yard touchdown, and then Nico left the game and it was like, what happened to CJ Stroud? Maybe Nico Collins is better for CJ Stroud than CJ Stroud is for Nico. I'm just saying. And again, this is another guy you drafted round 4, round 5 of your fantasy league, and he's only topped 18 fantasy points one time all year, and that was against a terrible Colts defense that just made Trevor Lawrence look good. Again, I'm not fully panicking on CJ Stroud or Josh Allen here, but my biggest regret of the draft season is I fell for this stupid, you need an elite QB. You need this guy, because for the first time ever, I drafted Patrick Mahomes twice in 2 different leagues this year, and I'm hating myself for it. I used to always just wait on QB, and you know what? Next year, I am going to wait on QB. And if you drop a comment on one of my draft videos and say, there is no way I can roll into the season with Jaden Daniels as my QB1, or Baker Mayfield as my QB1, or Sam Darnold as my QB1, I'm just going to block you from the channel. And you know what else you don't need to do next year? Draft a tight end early. What a nightmare of a position. Why are we still doing this with tight ends? I know, you draft a team and you see Dalton Kincaid, Mark Andrews, whoever, Sam Laporta, and you're like, oh, I'm so safe at the tight end position. And then you're not, because guess what? Having a warm, fuzzy feeling about your tight end, it doesn't score fantasy points, and neither do these elite tight ends this year. They are terrible. Dalton Kincaid, 5 points today when the Bills were missing their number 1 wide receiver. Mark Andrews got 9 whole points, and it feels like an outburst for this guy. And it was a day Lamar Jackson threw 42 passes. He only had 5 targets. Trey McBride, 11. Okay, I mean, he didn't kill you, but Did you draft Trey McBride for 11 whopping fantasy points? David Njoku, 2 points coming off injury. Evan Ingram, we still haven't seen this guy since week 1. Meanwhile, Tucker Kraft, Isaiah Likely, Charlie Kohler. Who is Charlie Kohler, by the way? Brandon Strange, Mo Alley Cox, Tyler Conklin, Jordan Atkins, and Jonnu Smith were all better than these guys. But that being said, you know what's better than not even wasting a pick on a tight end in your fantasy league? Is not having tight end a required position. Why are we still doing this? Don't we want to have fun in fantasy? Isn't that the goal of fantasy, to have a good time? Nobody is having a good time with their tight end right now. If you make tight end a required position, I can only assume you like kickers as well, and you probably like giving negative points for kickers that miss field goals. Eliminate the tight end position in fantasy football. Let's have some dang fun.